Skewed Reality Podcast.
Hey, you guys, welcome to episode 2 of Skewed Reality Podcast. This is specifically a place where we talk about life, love, sports, culture, and so many more topics. Whatever it is, there is no limit. My name is Bree, aka the Ego Bruiser, and this is a place where perspective meets truth. Now, not to be dramatic, but you should have checked out my first episode by now so you would understand why I call myself the Ego Bruiser, which is pretty much a good reason. And also, I do want to apologize to those that I am trying to target and expand in this podcast. I've had a bit of delay, but anytime you're getting your platform off the ground, anytime you're trying to invest in yourself and a business and you have a vision, sometimes things can get pushed back. So, for those that are in the same predicament, don't feel discouraged. Keep going. But today's episode on this awesome, amazing evening of a Sunday, we're going to explore the topic: are women allowed to talk about sports they cannot play? So today I have a guest with me, and I'm going to allow him to introduce himself.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy Remy.
Hey, Remy. Thanks for coming on to Skewed Reality Podcast. You are one of the people that I requested because I do believe that you represent just a small piece of Milwaukee and what it has to offer. How old are you? Obviously, you're from here. What impact do you think you're making in Milwaukee?
I'm 26 years old. A small impact that I put on the community is being a role model. I try to show the youth what you're supposed to do and what not to do. Give them a path on going down the right way, whether it's educational wise, whether it's through sports, whether it's through just finding another hobby to stay out of the streets and positive while they're not being occupied.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's one of the reasons why I gravitated towards you to come on and kind of talk about not only the impact that you're making, but, as you grow in the community, it resonated with me as well. So moving on, we were talking about the topic: are women allowed to talk about sports if they are not able to play that particular athletic, you know, attribute, ability, whatever the case may be? So, what is your opinion on that? Because I have some evidence that kind of says women could speak on sports even though they may not be able to play in that particular position or play at all.
I personally believe that if you physically can't step in there and do what that position or sport has faced you to do, then you shouldn't be able to speak on it. It's more like a woman having a baby. You can't really tell a woman how to give birth to a child. She's the one that's going through it. You're not the one that's physically going through the tribulations that a woman goes through when having a baby.
Ooh, that was kind of like sand in the eye. Like, you really went there with that example. And I'll tell you why. Because we have sport women fanatics like Doris Burke, Sage Steele, who I really don't give a damn about according to her racial issues and political standpoint. But regardless of the fact, she is one of the women sportscasters we look up to for reliable information. Among her are my girl Jamel Hill, Taylor Rooks, shout out to the Illini, another one that represents the community and just keeps on thriving on her personal platform as well. But just to say the least, these are women that can technically not play the sports that they're reporting on, and they give great perspectives and outlooks and even advice to the male players that are playing the game. So are you really going to pull the birth card? And because a woman could tell you, and you can feel that through empathy.
I feel like the empathy, but tying this back to sports, if we go into football, a woman cannot actually physically get on that field and do everything that a skilled athlete would be able to do in any position, whether it's the line, whether it's offense, whether it's defense. If she could actually do that, then it would be a different debate. She can't actually physically do that.
Okay, so what about the women that are actually playing professional football in lingerie. So are you just saying that they're used as props to be
It's not a professional.
sexualized?
It's not a professional. It's not a professional. Well, it's a
What?
professional
Oh
organization. It's
no,
not
I'm not even
a.
about to do this
It's
with you.
not a actual association that's football. It's more. It's more for collateral to get revenue of money.
Wow,
It's
ladies,
it's
we're
more. It's
just
more like a
pieces of
soap opera.
ass. Okay. I had to go there. I had to go there on you. But like even then, okay, let's say that your standpoint is true, okay? We can't actually be a linebacker on the field to ever experience that. What about the niggas that just spent 1 or 2 years in the league? Like and then call themselves being sportscasters, like they have all this knowledge and viewpoint to help the game change, but you're not on the field. You'll probably never ever step on the field. Reggie Bush.
You push. You push.
Come on. Anyways, tell me.
No, you can't read a book by its cover. So an athlete that is sitting there on the side, you can't judge him because he may be going through other things in his life that's giving him a halt to being on to the field. So put him more like having health issues, family issues, or just things going on in his life that stops him from taking his career as he's chosen to the next level.
Uh, I like how you attacking that viewpoint, but to me, it's like it's let's eat. No, I'm gonna just say no. I think that there is a possibility of women reporting on sports they can never be play to be unknown territory. But at the same time, it's another perspective. Let's think about the aspect of football having multiple coordinators and coaches on their team to give different perspectives. Women can do the same. You could be a successful defensive coordinator by just having that viewpoint and never ever being able to step on the field because maybe you have that ability to see holes and gaps that others cannot see, regardless of you ever being able, anything you do is like mathematics, it's science, it's an equation. You make it work. So it's like, we're just
I
gonna
don't I,
say,
I don't agree on that because you can use all the signs in the world to say that this is the what is going to happen, this is what it is, and this is how it's going to turn out. That doesn't physically equate to actually doing the actions of what you have to do. So she can be a defensive coordinator. It doesn't exactly tell you that you can physically go out there and tell me what I'm supposed to do at a full strength capability of what I need to do.
see, what you're giving me the vibes of is a monkey see, monkey do ass nigga. Like, you gotta see somebody do it to respect them, and it's never that serious. There's different talents in every different position, and it doesn't always require having to be in the midst of the physicality to be credible.
That's not so much true because it's not saying that a female cannot be a coach. I
Yeah.
never said a female couldn't be a coach. I just said that a female in the sport of football shouldn't have so much to say so in it.
What? I'm gonna say we're gonna wrap this consensus up. Basically, what you're telling me is that, you know, women shouldn't talk. They shouldn't have their mouth on things they can never play. And for me, I'm going to say that it's a different perspective and viewpoint. Whether you put on those helmet and pads at all, that never matters. It's about having that outlook, that wit to find the holes. All right, so when you hear that sound, people, you know that basically we're going to take this show for a turn. I do want to thank Remy coming out to interview with me, and I'm hoping that I'm able to create an environment of collaboration and, of course, bringing different perspective to the platform that will allow reality and truth to reveal. But it doesn't stop there. If you know me as an individual, I love reading news. I love staying in the loop of worldly matters. Okay. Because whether you believe it or not, what's happening in Iraq, what's happening in Africa, what's happening in England or Europe, it does affect us in the Americas. And I think that's one thing that we forget is it's a trickling effect. And me, I'm a person that's looking to change the world or change certain aspects of it if that positionality or opportunity presents itself. And so, even as an educator currently, I'm always asking my kids, how does this impact you and what change do you believe that you can make, and not only in your local community, but the worldly one that we have been attached to as well. And so I think that's a question that stumps a lot of people is if something's happening, across the country in a different time zone, for instance, let's look at China that has 12 hours ahead of us. How are we, when we are asleep, making an impact on them? Well, we understand the impact that China has. They make our clothes, they make our products, they make some of the technology that we have, and we don't blink an eye there. We just accept the imports and exports of what they're doing. But here as Americans, we tend to be attached to this worldly realm. But if it's not directly affecting us, then we tend to kind of brush it off or act like it has nothing to do with the way that our lives are cycling. And I find that to be the wrong approach to things. So, again, just circling back around to those that know me or getting to know me, you have to understand I'm always in the loop of things because I want to see what impact I can make, whether it's creating a food drive, whether it's partnering with some community liaisons to try to get donations or something popping. That's, what I usually try to negate to. So I was looking up this old article, and this has been one of the things that have dumbfounded me ever since I've stepped into Wisconsin since 2016 when I graduated from U of I. And one thing that really hit me compared to, and I've lived in several Midwest states now. So I'm from Vegas, and I've kind of told you a little bit about myself in that last episode. I'm from Vegas. I moved to Chicago in 2012 that summer. And then I wind up living in Indiana for a little bit because I was going to school down there. So that was about, 6 months to a year. I left, came back to Illinois. And then after college, I moved to Wisconsin because I was thinking about the long-term effects of my ability to stay above water. I come from a family where we've made some generational growth, but not necessarily generational wealth. And so when I think about that in particular, I'm saying, damn, I got to get it any way that I can. And that's not a fault of my parents necessarily. Parents that can't always do for you or do correctly for themselves, they haven't even learned them goddamn selves. So I just take that into consideration. And, when I first graduated college, I was like, there's no way that I'm going to be able to afford living in one of the best cities in the world, which is Chicago. Let me go make an indentation in my career. Let me go get some experience under my belt. And then maybe I can loop around to one of the best places that has the most outlets, opportunities, things to do, culture, people. You see Black people of status, not just in poverty. You see motherfuckers driving Jaguars. You see them in business suits. It's motivational to say the least. And that was always the end goal in the end for me to circle back around after I have built myself up. And being in Milwaukee for the last 4 years, I have definitely been able to build myself up. And I'm super proud of that, knowing the generations that I come from, knowing that they did not set themselves up or did not have the ability or knowledge to set themselves up. I've come a long way where I could pretty much go wherever the hell I want because I've reached a certain salary level, certain experience level. I've received my master's where it's like nobody can tell me anything other than you're hired, you're capable, and you're great at what you do. And I live by that. So again, one of the things that's always been daunting to me is when I compare let's look at the two cities, Milwaukee, which barely has 600,000 people. Then we look at Chicago, who has 2 million people. Now, when we think about the population, that is completely why they could have the amenities that they do. Like, for instance, when I zone in on Chicago, I'm looking at all their various and plethora ways of taking transportation through the city, where throughout my time in those years that I lived there, you had hella people that I met that were like, what do I need a car for? I live in Chicago. We could take the metro up to the suburbs. We could take the CTA, transit, buses, trains, red line, blue line, yellow line in the city. What the hell do I need a car for? And it didn't hit me that I was so spoiled where I'm like, ideally, you don't need a car, but because I'm bougie as fuck, I need a car wherever I go because I just like having that ability to get around and leave and come and go as I've always pleased. It's gotten me out of a lot of situations that have been uncomfortable. And it's gotten me out of situations where even if I wasn't uncomfortable, if I wanted to leave and opt into that choice, I was able to. But zoning back in on the means of transportation, I moved here 4 years ago, and I had to look around why this city was so impoverished. And that's one of the quarrels that I have with Milwaukee in particular, is you can make it for sure anywhere. You know, anywhere is a jungle that you go, especially if it's unknown territory. Again, we're doing that play on words. And so everything since I've been in the Midwest has been unknown territory, and I've been able to survive and thrive in some way, shape, or form or manner. Now, when I look at the people and why they are impoverished, first we have to look at, as Black people, the ability to gain generational growth, wealth, health, and anything else that attributes to positivity. And we haven't always had that. I mean, if you look at the timeline of Black people in general, it was only 100 or so years ago that we got out of slavery. My grandmother, who was born in 1955, had to deal with the separation and segregation of sipping from a colored water fountain. So we haven't come that far out of it. And that lady, who is my heart, the beat, and I don't know what I would do without her when and if she does leave this planet. And I say if because you never know. Some people can surprise you where they live to 100 and, you know, by then I'm 50 something, whatever the case may be. But just looking at the opportunity to expand ourselves has been limited by slavery, by mental weakness, by not having the right leaders. There's a lot of angles to look at this. But when I zone in on, I was reading this article called Milwaukee's Workforce Shortage. Is it really a transit shortage? Abso-fucking-lutely. I mean, like I just told you, when I was living in Chicago, if I didn't take my car, and I always lived in the suburbs, I had the ability to take the metro into the city. Then I had the ability to take a bus with the CTA's, Chicago's transport system. Or I had the opportunity, I've never really been a bus taker, so I would, interestingly enough, take the train and pay my way. And their system is called Ventra. And I remember specifically before I had transferred into U of I, mind you, I'd been to 3 universities, so just a little fun fact about me: Loyola, Indiana University, and then University of Illinois. I'm sorry, don't call it Illinois University because those are 2 different things, and that is my mistake. But my alma mater, in which I graduated from the last 2.5 years, I always had the ability to get around, and it was never an issue because that city, not only is it large, but they've created a pathway for people poor, in between, and rich to get around as necessary. Okay? And you notice I mentioned 3 different socioeconomic statuses, simply because it's somewhat affordable and you can get a job anywhere in that state. And as long as you have public transit to get to where you're going, you can pretty much make the money that you need for your family to exist, thrive, and get ahead in this life that often sets us back. Okay, so just looking at this topic, is the workforce shortage really a transit shortage? Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, because the mayor or whoever is in charge of the governmental processes in this city decided to make a trolley on the east side that only serves one population. On the east side, usually there's this thing I like to call the CC area: college students and crackheads. The east side is a very weird place, but it is a very secluded populace that not everybody resides in. So get a clue. And I kid you not, most of the jobs that are significant, and we're talking about GE, we're talking about big companies like that, are in the suburbs of Waukesha or somewhere extremely out far, and they have no public transportation for those in poverty to change their lives. So I sit here today dumbfounded, like, what the hell? Why wouldn't the city be looking at the methods of transit for those to change their situation from impoverished to middle class and possibly rich if you are able to manage your money throughout these cycles of socioeconomic status? Now, we do have to put some blame on us. Of course, we are always responsible for the management and the means we are able to obtain. I do believe that Black people here in particular are very at risk and out of touch with the opportunities that exist further out where the white people live. Unfortunately, since we do live in the Midwest, we have to understand we live in the most segregated part of the states. Not to say that there isn't segregation that exists everywhere. Now, I never said that, don't get me wrong. I've lived in a lot of places. And I mean, to tell you, I did not feel the way I feel about white people in particular before I moved to the Midwest, because I came from a situation in Vegas where we're a fucking melting pot. I mean, when you look around, there are Black people, white people, Samoans, Mexicans, because we're so close to the Mexican border, and they've made their home inside of the states, creating opportunities and a livelihood for themselves. And then, they're all mating together. I grew up knowing nothing different than being a part of culture. Then you move to the Midwest and it's kind of like, whoa. Not only is it not a melting pot and we're still living like this is the 1900s somewhere in there, we're also dealing with segregation due to, in part, of transit, of the ability to obtain money, opportunities, jobs being available locally as well as in a far reach. And they're limited here. Is the cost of living lower? Absolutely, but we're limited. So just reading this stupid ass article, because how could you even question such? It's clear as day. You created a trolley for the east side of Milwaukee, which houses the university. And then it's not really accessible to anybody. If you know most Black folks, they live in the 53206, which is one of the most segregated and highly populated jail situations for Black people. And there's no access to transit or anything that will get them out far to where the actual money is with the bigger companies that do exist here. For those that may have education or may not, you're not a bad person because you didn't get education. But at the same time, they still do need opportunities to exist and thrive. And Milwaukee in particular, I'm sorry, they don't give a fuck about that here. They don't. And that's the part that hurts my heart, being a nomad to a certain extent, because I've been everywhere. I'm from somewhere, but I've been everywhere. And at this point, I'm from nowhere at all because I haven't really specifically made my grounds into where I want to be. I've built up my career. I've built up some of who I am, and it's given me ammunition to go wherever I want. But I don't see myself here long term just because of the way they do Black people. And knowing that I am comfortable in my Blackness and do want a Black family or a family of color, because my mate doesn't always have to be Black. I'm thinking about that context. What would I want for my family long term? And I know and believe this would not be the place due to some of the discrepancies that exist between socioeconomic status and plainly put color of people. So just looking at it, this past winter, Wisconsin launched a widely criticized $1 million advertising campaign to lure Chicago millennials to the state, and they absolutely fucking did. That's why nursing is booming up here. And if you look around in the downtown area, I mean, they've built all sorts of new housing. 400, 500 square feet, 1,300. 400, 500 square feet, 600 at max, 1,500. Excuse me? See, the way my mind is set up, I'm looking for an opportunity to buy a home. That's a mortgage payment. So for those that are out there and can afford it, be smart, be savvy. You're not taking the right pathway. To me, to do that, to have the ability to have the money that you have and be able to pay the rents that you're doing, think about things. Your investment. What do you own? Some people don't give a fuck about that. Money is like water to them. Me, I've gone through the ups and downs of life. I know I can have it, and I know that God can take it away very easily. And so I take that into consideration. I want to own something. So anyways, on the surface, it made sense. The statewide unemployment rate is a record 2.9%, and the working age population growth is only projected to be 0.2%, while the projected job growth rate is 6%. Okay, so your strategic methods is to lure Chicago residents instead of building up your own community. I have a problem with that strategy. I have a problem with that approach. Because if you're about economic building, it starts with your own first. But okay, they continue not to invest in the things that matter to help the people thrive here. But continuing on with this article, state officials believe they need to attract new talent. Okay, Chicago, stand up. Y'all the new talent, apparently, instead of building their own. But dig a little deeper and you find that there are plenty of workers in Wisconsin who still need jobs. Duh, I said that before we even got to this. But they can't get to where the state's new jobs are increasingly located. Oh, for real? Work on your transit system. And then you'd have your answers. And today I only start with local news because I find it fucking absurd. This is a blue-collar state. And so when you think about factory jobs, being hands-on, working mechanical things, it's already limited based on what the state has been known for. It's not one of those diverse states you come here, you can fuck it up. Okay, you got to have a plan in mind. All right? So reading on in the article, only 44% of Milwaukee's black men are employed. Okay, and I can tell you, there's a large pool of y'all here that ain't really shit. But outside of y'all ain't really being shit. And that's just my personal opinion because I've done some dating here. They need jobs too. You could be the worst person on the planet, but you still have to provide for your family. And that's one thing that people in Wisconsin do very, very quickly. Is as soon as they get out of high school, they building a family. No time, no wait. It's one of those build a family, be settled type of places. And if this is what your mind, as far as your mind can envision, I say go for it. But I got ideals to be in $1 million home. Living in one of the best areas for a school district. To provide my kids with opportunities to go see those that are in the worst districts so they can understand and never be a motherfucking Tariq. You feel me? Power reference right there. Shout out to them. I love that show. But people like Tariq, seriously, you kill me. You have every opportunity. And because you've never seen the dark side, you desire to go to the side that you know nothing about. Again, unknown territory. He's got to go, 50 Cent. He's got to go. There's no coming back from that type of shit. But just moving on. The problem for these workers, say regional workforce development providers, is that all the economic development in the region is in the suburbs. I said that based off observation. Because I'm from Vegas, I'm always thinking about the context. Any place that I visit, could I live here long term? Not just could I live here, but long term. I've been to 17 states and counting. And I've been out of the country one time. Okay, and this summer I'm about to fuck it up because your girl earned that. But, furthermore, duh, the jobs are far out. People don't have jobs. People don't have cars. Okay? People don't have the accessibility that they need to thrive to make Wisconsin a competitive state. I mean, the fucking Bucks and building a stadium that has cost taxpayers thousands is not going to attract the best talent in the universe, okay? The Bucks only going so far before Giannis decides to opt out. Niggas say anything to get an endorsement deal. I will never leave until we get a ring. Okay, and when that nigga gets a ring, did he tell you the aftermath? He didn't. And he's young. And I would want to be part of one of the best organizations to exist. And the Bucks is not one of the best organizations to exist at the moment. Are they competitive? True. But I see that young man taking his talents elsewhere, and I am never mad at a brother exploring his opportunities and providing for his family. But, moving on, it's a problem. It's a problem for those workers. And, connecting these jobs to where workers live is going to be the essential aspect to make this place great, or to make any place great in America. So, like I was going back to the 17 states that I visited. Recently this year alone, I visited 3 places. Detroit was one of them. And when I say, my God, when I look through the lens of can I live here long term, I wouldn't step foot in that place to live. I barely wanted to step foot to conduct the business that I was conducting, because I said it's really that bad here. I ask everybody what's to do. Go downtown. I'm sorry. I'm from a place that's live 24/7. What y'all downtown gonna do for me when it closes at 10, 11? Okay, damn, even the college that I went to, liquor didn't stop selling till 2 in the morning. All right, so there's just a lot of places in America. I look through that lens and I'm like, damn, this don't make the cut. But I will tell you, being down in Detroit made me grateful for my residency and ability to thrive where I'm at. I am so grateful I could get down on my knees right now, because that's how that's how bad some places are in the United States. And so it's just bothersome, to say the least. Okay, so the state provided $4 billion in incentives for the company to open a plant in the Milwaukee region. They're referring to Foxconn. And they are promising that they'll open up 13,000 jobs. Now, does that help? Yes. But it doesn't solve. And so the trolley that you guys invested in, I really consider Milwaukee in general to rethink their strategies. But then it also gives off the vibe that you don't care about people of color or black people in general. So I'm not here to beg you, but to command you that this is what the people need. And so, whether it's national, whether it's local, it concerns me. And I just love to share my opinion. If you have ever visited down here compared to the city that you live in, please share your experiences. Do you believe that the city that you have decided to settle and build your life in has the opportunities specifically for not only black people, but just anybody in general? Is the transit right? Is it always coming? Is it timely? Is it accessible? Is it affordable? These are things we have to look at. Fuck a car. You can't afford it. It's an overly expensive luxury to begin with. And that's a luxury that some people can't live without, i.e. me. But I work hard for everything that I fucking have. So it's like nobody gonna take away from me when I have that hustle to provide by any means necessary in a legal authority Let me just put that on the track. Now, when you look at millionaires and billionaires, I'm going to just throw this out there. They haven't always been the most reputable. They haven't always done the most legal things to get where they're going. And sometimes to get to that money, where you don't have to have a care in the world about you, your finances, or your family's comfortability and accessibility, sometimes it does take illegal measures. But who am I? Let's talk to the Elon Musk and, let's talk to Facebook's founder, fucking Carrot Top, giving our information away. But that's a conversation for another time. I urge my listeners right now to zone in and think about the context of where they live and the amenities of it. So please share your perspective. My YouTube is Skewed Reality Podcast. My Facebook is Skewed Reality Podcast. My website is http://skewedrealitypodcast.com. Instagram me. That's my personal page. But anything that you want to see special effects behind the scenes, you'll be able to see it on my Instagram at Bree, BREEX Bond. And my Twitter is skewed_podcast. Share your perspective. In the city that you're currently in, is it equitable? Is it accessible for you, your family, or for those in a different socioeconomic status than yourself? Because here's why, legitimately, I feel some type of way. It doesn't matter if you're poor, middle class, rich, or whatever in between. They're still taxpayers at the end of the day. Okay? And so they're paying their taxes for these roads, yet they're in an impoverished situation because all the jobs are in the suburbs, and you haven't created a transit system in your city for those that need that to thrive, to feed, to serve, to provide for their families. And so I'm going to have a problem and gripe with that 100% of the time, because I pay taxes, and sometimes I'm like, what the hell? I might as well go exempt all year, and I'll deal with y'all at the end of the year, really. And I got it like that, where I can hook up some taxes. Holla at your girl, okay? But regardless of that fact, again, I'm also coming out on all platforms, specifically Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes, and iHeartRadio. My podcast has already hit Spotify. Shout out to you guys. That is why I fucking love Spotify, because they're about their business. Check me out on there if that's what you love to use. SoundCloud is always accessible to everybody. iTunes and iHeartRadio is coming very, very soon. Tune in, pitch in. This is going to be the last term, but I just wanted to bring up how I was able to go to the Chris Brown concert. Yes, I finally got to see my dude after so many years. And if you guys know how I feel about him, not in a sexual way, but that nigga is a living fucking legend. So anyways, it was just, very nostalgic of all the things that I grew up listening to over the years in his 18 years in the business. And then it was right in Chicago. And if you know anything about me, as I've already mentioned before, Chicago is like my second home. So it was just perfect. But again, this nigga's popular. He's touring right now, obviously. But I was reading the news online. As I already told you, I like to keep in the thing of local and worldly news, or whatever the case may be. And it said that Chris Brown is now selling face lamps following thirsty comments under Rihanna's picture. Now, if you know anything about yourself, there's always just that one ex you just will not refuse to let go. Now, as crazy as that shit is, we're just human by nature, right? So if he is, leave my fucking boy alone. Let him get his money. Because y'all, this is why he does stupid shit like this. Because y'all feed right into it. Y'all making a headline about him making lamps, which is making him money. I would do the same shit too, because they say all news, whether good or bad, is great publicity. So as long as y'all continue to do the antics and the bullshit, he's going to continue to sell products based off of you guys being annoying. But anyways, regardless of the fact, if you're out, check my boy out. If he's touring in your city, fucking go to that show. It was lit. Everything that you can imagine, dancing, singing, the nigga had it all, and he was sick. I don't know how many more props you need. I did not get paid for that advertisement, but that's how good the fucking show was. Regardless of the fact, just bringing up more in music and news, I adopted a track for the podcast that I want you guys to listen to as the outro. It was produced by Eric Sorrells, my boy Cerezy, one of my guy best friends, and he's put in a lot of work and whatnot to it, and I adopted it for my platform, so I hope you guys love it. Check it out. Again, hit me up on social media. Let me know what you think about the podcast. Follow me on Spotify and all the other major platforms that this show resides on. SoundCloud, it's out right now on my Facebook page. Yeah, ha! On some Meg the Stallion shit.
Hey, that's it right there. Hey, that's it right there. Hey, that's it right there. Hey, that's it right there.